right, welcome back to step 3. All right, so we've got this drawing here. This drawing was produced on a regular printer. It is not to a scale, which means if you were to measure any of these numbers, this is not 5 feet. Okay, it's just little. Okay, so what we can do is we can take a ruler. Let's then practice your ruler. So here is an imperial ruler, in inches and fractions of an inch. And I can get an idea of about what size that is. So if I line that up, and I use the ones that don't have inches because it's just a little easier. So if I measure that, that's 8 sixteenths, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 13 sixteenths. That's kind of a rough number to work with. But that's 5 feet is 13 sixteenths, okay? Now what we want to do is get the height of this. Typically a house is walls that are 8 feet tall on the main floor, sometimes up to 10. Okay, so if this is 5 and 10 feet then gets me to an inch and 5/8 is 10 feet, that's the kind of the height that I would look at for my whole house. Okay, which makes this kind of small and kind of tiny. Okay, but that works. We can go bigger. So we have the 5. Now we're going to go over here, and that's going to be 1 inch and a half and a quarter. So, is that right? Yep. No. So, boy, that's an eighth. So, inch and 5/8. Okay, 1.625, inch and 5/8. All right. So now I'm going to take that number, and we're going to go and transfer that onto that closest wall. So, and then mark that height on there. So I get right on the line. There's an inch, there's a half, and there's where 5/8 is. So right there is the height of these windows. In this case, it's not quite above. So we're going to exaggerate this just a little bit because my point there is not above my horizon. And this will look really weird if everything's below the horizon. Now, because I don't want to redo it. So we're going to exaggerate this just a little bit and make it a little taller, which is what we can do. So I'm just going to go to a full 2 inches, just so it's just right above the horizon line, okay? And if you need to come back and erase the other so you don't get confused, that's what erasers are for. And we're going to have to retrace this anyway, so this will be just fine. So now that's my starting point, okay? So we have that. Now this goes to the vanishing point that's on the right. So we line those up. We should be getting pretty fun. This is kind of a fun exercise. This is actually the part of architecture that people really, really enjoy. You can kind of get lost in it and kind of just enjoy the moment. So there's the height of the garage. And now it's going to go back here to the left. And we're just going to go that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth process again. So that goes to there. And then I go back to the other way. Oh, there's that dang missing corner again. I should have just had you guys bring that in. So we're going to extend that up again so we can have it. I just don't want to confuse you with having too many lines to begin with. But, you know, it kind of happens. All right, so there's the inside corner of that pop out. And that's going to the vanishing point on the right. So we get those lined up. And just kind of keep track of right, left, so you don't lose yourself in the lines. That's the biggest thing to worry about. So dark here, light there. And that's going to come forward, which means it's going up, which is kind of a little counter thinking, is that when you go to the left above the horizon line, your lines are going up. And so that goes up just a little bit to there, and then back over to the left. This will be a pretty small line, okay? Don't worry about it. Just follow the process, follow the patterns, the little breadcrumbs of life. Dark line here to that point, and there'll be an edge there, okay? And then we go back to the left, and this is a dropping back on that pop-out window. Now, the bigger you do your drawing, the more detail you can have. So if your teacher wants to enlarge these, make them larger, that's always an option. Then we go back to the vanishing point, and we're stretching here quite a bit to get that in. Dark line there. And then back to the vanishing point. And this is where we see things doing the whole perspective of disappearing in the distance. Right there. Okay, so that gets us our roof line. Okay, this is a little one-story house. Has a basement. We'll put the basement on in a little bit, so we have that look to it. Now we get to put in all of our solid lines. And since we've already drawn them, this becomes pretty straightforward and easy. So we'll start here on the left, and we're just going to darken the line between the top and the bottom of the wall. So in there, sliding across to the next corner. So just kind of like what we've already done. And just bring that line in. And as we start to darken up these corners, things start to look a little more house-like, which is what we're looking for. And sharp pencils are good pencils. So we like that. Get lined up. And so our house is starting to become a little bit more established, a little bit more ready to kind of follow and get things in there. So just gotta get those corners lined up. So this is the pop-out window now. It's popping out. Let's then jump back to this corner back in here. And once those lines start to darken, things just start to look a whole lot better. Life feels great. Creation's awesome. Best part about architecture is the creating part. Now you're hearing that little bumping along the lines. That's because I'm using a metal ruler that's been engraved instead of painted. And so there's a little bit of a bump going on there, which I don't really like. So I'm going to try and change angle and pull down the inside line so we don't have bumpy lines. All right, there is our walls. Happy day, happy joy, joy, happy day. Okay, that's a really good thing to have. So we're there now. All right, on to the next step.